You're listening to the Membership Geeks podcast, bringing you proven practical tips and advice from the leading experts on growing a successful membership business.
Well, hello there, membershippers. Thank you for listening to the Membership Geeks podcast. I'm your host, Mike Morrison. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. I'm so glad you've found us. You have unlocked a treasure trove of proven practical tips and advice for growing your membership business. Over 400 episodes, nearly 10 years of membership goodness that is now at your fingertips. So make sure that you hit subscribe so you do not miss a single new installment of the show, because we come each and every week with solid gold for membership owners. And of course, if you're a long-term listener, you already know this. You know this is the place to be. If you enjoy the show, if you found it useful, I would be so grateful if you could just take a minute or two of your time to leave a nice, shiny 5-star review in your podcast app of choice, just to let me know that I'm doing my job the way that I should be doing it, but also because every review helps us to reach more people, to help more memberships, and ultimately, that is what this is all about. All right, so if you've ever wished that you could get more bang for your buck from Instagram, especially in today's social media environment where it's harder to reach people, where the algorithms are a little more unpredictable, and where people seem to be getting less return on their investment, both in terms of time and resources into social media, if you are looking for Instagram in particular to do a bit more of the heavy lifting, to contribute more, to help you generate more leads, you're going to love this episode, because today I'm talking to Mel Eilers. She is an expert in Manychat for Instagram, which is an automated chatbot that you can utilize for so many different things. So we're digging into how Manychat can help you turn comments, DMs, and story replies into email leads, and even into messages and workflows that can engage your existing members. So how to use Manychat for leads, for sales, and for continuous member retention. So whether you're brand new to the idea of this kind of automation, maybe you've dabbled and didn't quite get the right results, this episode is packed with super practical examples and ideas for utilizing Manychat for Instagram that you can start testing right away. Mel really brought her A game and personally left me with a notepad full of ideas of things that I want to test out in terms of using Manychat, not just for lead generation, but for things like webinar registrations and for keeping engagement with existing members. So, without any further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Melanie Eilers. All right, today I'm joined by Mel Eilers. Mel is known as the Manychat Queen. She's an experienced conversational marketer who works with coaches, personal brands, and retailers to help them maximize their sales and leads from Instagram, all while freeing up the to-do list and saving time in the DMs. Mel helps brands to personalize their connection with followers through Manychat automations, helping to boost reach and engagement and leading to higher conversion rates through a seamless customer journey. As well as all this, Mel is a sought-after speaker and has shared the online stage with the likes of Amy Porterfield and Michael Hyatt, just to drop a couple of big old names there. And she's also a popular podcast guest who I am very proud and very honored to have here on the show. Mel, thanks so much for joining me today to talk all things Manychat.
Oh, you're welcome, Mike. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to chat Manychat. I could chat for hours about Manychat, but I know we haven't got hours.
Well, that's the thing. It's something that I think we played with and dabbled with potentially for Facebook.
Yeah.
Like back in maybe 2017, 2018, when it was kind of still fairly newish, when all the APIs were a lot more limited. And where I think that was, I think, just a time where everyone was just throwing everything at the wall to see what worked. So I'm just kind of interested to see how it's developed, how it's matured. But some people will be listening kind of thinking, okay, what the heck is Manychat? Obviously, with the rise of AI, there's all sorts of talk of chatbots and automations even more in the frame. And yeah, a lot of people who are listening maybe aren't familiar with what Manychat is, or they've heard about it, but they've got no clue what it can do. So let's just start with the basics. What exactly is Manychat for Instagram? How does it differ from typical email lead generation techniques or DMs? What's it all about?
So to keep it really simple, Manychat is an online conversational marketing platform that you can plug in to the back end of your Instagram content, your Instagram DMs. It also works onto Facebook business pages. You can run it into WhatsApp and SMS as well. And it is a way of building automated conversations that you can then have in those DMs that are activated via keywords. So looking at Instagram, for example, if you're an avid Instagram user on the platform, you'll probably have seen a lot of people start to say, comment this word and I will send you lead magnet or sign up for a webinar, whatever it is. And then they comment the keyword and then you see all these comments and the brand has probably replied to every single one of them. And they're all commenting the same keyword. Now that keyword triggers an automation into the DMs. So that's where Manychat kicks in, and it is an automated conversation that you can build. It's really easy to build. It's no coding to build that can gather someone's name and their email within the DMs. And the functionality is very similar on Facebook as well. And that means that you can sign people up for your webinars or your lead magnets or whatever your kind of offering is. Within the DMs, you're not sending them to link in bio, which is really difficult for people to get to. And you're keeping them all on platform. So you're not sending them off the platform to, a landing page or anything. You're keeping them within the DMs. So those comments on the posts or into the DMs are building up. They're very much favoring the algorithm. And then you're keeping them and you're converting them whilst on the platform. So for the consumer, it's a really simple journey. It doesn't need to be anything long and quick. It's, you can speed sales, right? We don't have a lot of time and we don't have high attention spans these days. And if someone decides they want your thing, they want to opt in pretty quick. And so by bringing them into the DMs, automating that conversation, you can have that freebie or that sign up, whatever it is, into their email basket or delivered within the DMs within 20, 30 seconds. Less than that, possibly even less than that. So it's a great way for brands to really shorten that customer journey to get people to opt in to their lead magnets, etc. And for the consumer, it's a real benefit as well because it's all on platform. They're not going off to find a link. They're not getting distracted. It's like boom, 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 boom. And, they're done. They're opted in. So essentially, Manychat can be used to provide a much quicker, seamless but automated customer journey as well, which means the brand is also not spending a huge amount of times in the DMs answering questions.
So, I mean, obviously that's speed, and like you said, like kind of capturing people's attention, because I think that is definitely one of the things with social media. It's just becoming harder and harder to get attention and keep attention because people just scroll. And if they stop at your thing and they like what they see, that kind of call to action of, hey, if you want to know more, click through to the link in my bio, and then you go to the link at the bio. And it's how many clicks you actually need to get to just get to a website. And then really that website experience isn't always optimal because it's within the little built-in browser to Instagram.
Yeah.
This just sounds like a cleaner alternative to that. And a one that perhaps feels a little more human because they're just kind of talking to someone in the same way that they would do if they were messaging a friend or something.
Yeah, very much so. And I know when I build for myself and I build for clients, talking about myself, I always build as if it's me talking. So I always, I think it's super important as well that you don't try and pretend to be a human because that will just completely confuse and possibly annoy people. So the first message notes that always pops up, I would always recommend you go, hi, this is Mel's Instabot, for example. Looks like you're here to get this lead magnet. Is that correct? Which then introduces you. They know it's not a human, it's an automation, and it sets the expectation that they know that they're in the right place for that thing that they've just seen on your stories or on your posts, for example. And then hopefully they click yes. And then you go, great. This, a couple of really quick sales messages. You will learn this will solve this problem, whatever it is. And then in order to send you this guide, can I have your name? They type your name. Can I have your email address? They type their email. Then it's job done. basically.
Yeah.
That's all they need to do. And if you're running automations like that, the only other thing you need to do is link it into your CRM, which can be done by a quick zap. And I mean, how many of us use Zapier or, equivalent bridging software in many parts of our business these days to kind of automate that final step? And it's a great way to help build your email list, essentially.
Yeah, and I think definitely with the fact that, most people's lead generation strategy, it's usually front-ended by content. It's content marketing, it's blogs, podcasts, videos, get people to your website, and there you are capturing the lead. But it's becoming harder and harder, especially with the rise of AI, with search engines becoming more of a walled garden where they just want to give you the answer and not send you off somewhere else. So having this alternative route to actually utilize social media more directly to generate email leads, I think it's absolutely something people should be exploring as the more traditional route of lead generation are, I wouldn't say drying up, but certainly becoming a lot more challenging, even for the biggest players in the online space.
I certainly, and if and from looking at some of Manychat's like latest statistics, obviously the company's had huge growth in the last, especially in the last 6 months, but also in the last year. But a lot of people are only using Manychat to send them to a link in the DMs, so which there are use cases for. But if you can take the time to learn a little bit more about how you get them to actually opt in within the DMs, then that whole conversation is going to leave you with a much higher conversion rate. So although you're bringing them into the DMs and then you're giving them the link that you want them to go to, essentially then you could then be sending them, you're off platform again. And if it's something that you want people to opt in for, i.e. it's gated content, it's lead generation, then it's much better to try and do that within the DMs. If you're sending them to a blog post or to a podcast or something, for example, where the opt-in isn't needed, then yes, a link is probably the easiest journey for them. But if you actually want them to opt in for something, then keeping them within the DMs is where brands are really going to be able to make that difference with a much shorter customer journey, more fun for the customer, I believe, and a higher conversion rate as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's saving them 3 or 4 clicks, and I think people don't want to have to click through, like, into the DMs. Here's a link you go to, you click on the link, you've got to fill in the form, and just shortening that process and shortening the hassle. So obviously, it does sound like it's the sort of thing that can work cross industry, whatever you're kind of promoting, even if it's just sending people to podcasts and so on. When it comes to memberships in particular, are there any ways that you've seen that are most effective that membership owners could use this kind of automation on Instagram to grow their email list, to grow their wait list? Is it just about that real simple lead magnet, or are they kind of like certain types of conversations, or even can you do quizzes within the DMs? Like, is there anything you're seeing working really well that you think membership owners could really benefit from experimenting with?
So I ran some Manychat automations recently for a client who was doing a big event. It was like a 2-day event, which was running on Facebook, I believe, but her audience is actually on Instagram. So she puts out, or she's very regular, she has a very engaged audience. And so we built an automation for her that registered people for that event. And as soon as that went live and she gave out the keywords, the comments just coming in. I mean, she had great speakers organized. She had she's very strategic in her content marketing anyway, which is obviously is a bonus. But she did really well with getting organic signups through the DMs with Manychat. And not only did we literally sign them up for that event through the DMs, we then built out further automation, kind of almost like a part 2, where we were asking them certain questions about their business, and saving them into custom fields, which then went into her email marketing platform so she could nurture them further beyond just signing up for the event. So I think some of the questions we were asking about whether they had a bricks and mortar store or whether they were just online, whether, what kind of level of turnover did they have, how many staff did they have, so that she could then nurture them via email with a different range of offers because she knew more about their business, which all of that information was gathered within the flows. So it doesn't just have to be lead magnets. No. So webinar registrations work really well. I run them for myself as well. But there's so much that you could do. You can gather, testimonials. You can, in all honesty, it's what can't you do is kind of not really the question. It's more like definitely how, it's that almost how long is a piece of string question. You can do so much. Quizzes as well. Quizzes are a great one. And it doesn't have to be much. I've run quizzes before for this was actually on Facebook a couple of years ago, where she was running an online event and she wanted more engagement in the Facebook group, which is, an ongoing issue. But at the end of every evening, after they'd had the free presentations during the day, we put up a little quiz, and that just kind of cemented the learning of what was going on that day. So people who entered the quiz, they kind of got a few little questions. It was quite a fun thing. A few little questions about what they learned, just to give them a little score. People love a quiz, don't they? People love to know, what they know. Love to show off what they know and get a little score at the end. So yeah, there is so many things that you can do within the chatbots.
Yeah, I'm honestly, when just mentioning the using them to get people registered for webinars, like, right away I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to try that. Yeah, that again, it just shortens that process, but not just about getting an email lead. Like webinars for us convert really well, big part of our marketing strategy. So it just makes sense. That saves like 4 or 5 different steps. I suppose it is basically just anything that you think that you could do in a conversation with a person to benefit your business. This is something you could look at Manychat.
Yeah, certainly. You almost look at what your business objective is and work backwards from that to see if you could make that work through an automation. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So if you're launching a brand new membership and you're putting out little teasers about it onto Instagram, you could kind of just say comment waitlist to be notified when things happen. That and ping them with a DM.
Yep.
Get their email address from that and put them on the waitlist. So it's not even about getting them a lead magnet. It's just registering people's interest.
Yeah, definitely. And another strategy actually I've seen work really well that I've used with a client before is where you are trying to get signups for your webinar, but this particularly with regards to Instagram, if you've posted about that on your grid story, your grid posts, that content stays there forevermore. So for example, and you know how the algorithm can do funny things sometimes, and it shows like quite old content. So if you've got a webinar automation, but that webinar has actually took place last month, you don't necessarily want people to still comment that keyword, and either it doesn't go anywhere because that's not a very good user experience, or they then end up registering for a webinar that's already taken place. Again, not a good experience. But I would always build in a time and date condition to the start of that flow that says, is the user coming in after this date? And if it is, then I send them another message and it goes, oh, looks like you're trying to register for this webinar. Unfortunately, that event has now ended. Would you like to join the waitlist for the next one? So as you know, you can run plain, obviously, straightforward waitlist flows, but you can also add it into previous content to make it much more consumer friendly. So they're not registering for a webinar that's already happened, but they can get on the waitlist for the next one as well.
And that's something, some people in the membership space, they'll have memberships where they close their doors and they keep them closed for a few months and so on. So that's something that they'd find handy as well. I'd imagine if they've been doing a big promotion because their doors have been open kind of at the beginning of May, the doors are then closed, but the algorithm shows people that post in June. Then the same thing as with the webinar. Hey, it looks like you missed this enrollment window. Do you want us to let you know when we reopen again?
Yeah.
No, I like that. Now, what's an interesting one, and I don't know if this is going to be possible or whether there's, it's maybe the wrong tool for the job or the wrong approach. But obviously for memberships, they are a retention business. That's they're about what happens after someone joins. Can you think of any way that Manychat could potentially be used to support existing members of a membership business or improve engagement after someone has joined rather than just for the marketing?
Yeah, so I mean, I talk about Manychat with regards to Instagram quite a lot, but that you can also implement the SMS channel or the WhatsApp channel as well. So if building, retaining membership or getting engagement with a membership once they've already joined, I would look at one of those two channels within Manychat as well. So in theory, you could bring them in via Instagram, gather their number as well if they've signed up for something, and then you can then remarket to them via WhatsApp. Or even within your membership, you could get them to sign up to the Manychat WhatsApp channel. So WhatsApp connects in via the API. It's slightly different to WhatsApp for Business. So there are a few sort of differences between all the WhatsApp channels. But you can then send. So if, for example, if you, I don't know, maybe you held a weekly like membership meetup for whatever reason, or you're having a guest masterclass or something like that, you would be able to send out like a broadcast message to everybody within the membership who is in your WhatsApp channel, which would remind them to turn up, and probably actually give them the Zoom link as well within the WhatsApp. So that, because I mean, how many people I know in the UK, WhatsApp is massive. It's one of our main forms of communication these days.
It's only really the US where it's not huge.
I know.
Because I always see the thing from people in the US being surprised that the entire world uses WhatsApp.
I know, and they don't. No. They're much bigger on SMS. So if you were running a membership in the States, I'd probably say look to utilize the SMS side of it as well. I mean, obviously there are different charges when it comes to WhatsApp and SMS, because you're looking at sort of the costs, but you do get a certain amount. I think it's something like 1,000 WhatsApp a month. Something like that for free. I don't know the figures off the top of my head, but you do get a vast amount included within that. So it is quite a cost-effective way of possibly, increasing that engagement within a membership as well.
I like the idea of actually switching to WhatsApp potentially once someone's become a member, because absolutely, like if you are doing live calls, whether it's Q&As or office hours roundtables, you want as many people as possible on there, and you can send out email reminders, but not everyone has email on their phone. Not everyone checks their email as and when it comes in. Some people are really well organized and they only check 3 or 4 times a day. But a little text message, a little WhatsApp reminder actually could do a lot. And even just as part of the new member onboarding, after someone's been a member for a week or two, that little check-in via WhatsApp, like, hey, just wanting to check in, make sure everything's okay. And can you kind of set that up so that obviously there can be the automated conversations, but can you set it up so that you get a little ping personally, like you get notified if someone's replied? So if you wanted to respond to them personally versus automation, can you have an element of that?
Within the Manychat part of WhatsApp, because it connects through the API, it's not managed via the app that you have on your phone as a brand. For the consumer, obviously it goes into their WhatsApp, their normal personal WhatsApp. But for you as a brand, if they did reply to an automation, you can reply to that through the Manychat dashboard on your desktop. So there is a ways of replying, but it doesn't go into the same mobile app. Yes. It gets a bit technical with WhatsApp, because there's WhatsApp, your personal number, which is how as brands we communicate with other people. But then there's the WhatsApp for Business, and then there's WhatsApp through the API as well. So it connects in a slightly different way. But you could you could definitely have it as part of your onboarding sequence. Depending on how that is run. The easiest way that I actually use WhatsApp for my business, which I've only actually started using quite recently, is when I run a webinar and possibly I'm looking for leads. Right at the end of that webinar, where you have these are all my links and this is how you can contact me, etc., etc. And when you're the person hosting the webinar, sometimes it's quite difficult to copy those links over to the chat whilst you're trying to actually chat at the same time. And it's equally, if you put links into a presentation that's online, they're not clickable for the people on the other end. So I've started using a QR code that brings them into my Manychat WhatsApp channel, and they literally be sitting, on a webinar. The QR code pops up, you scan it, and it it opts them into one of my lead magnets, etc., and then they're part of my WhatsApp channel.
And is that just kind of, is that integrated directly with Manychat, or is that something you need to create the QR separate? Okay, so that's just...
So you build within Manychat through the WhatsApp channel, and then the trigger is you kind of add the trigger as it is I think it's a comment or something like that, or a link. User clicks a link, but that link becomes a QR code that you just download, and then you just pop it into your presentation.
Oh, I love that. This is just like loads of fantastic little golden nuggets where I'm just like, I always tell this stuff, I want to try that. I'm going to try that. Let's tinker around with that. No, I really
that's a new, and actually, as when I've presented on webinars recently and I've used this, I've always thought, will anyone scan the code? And then I've looked at the stats later, and there were only 20 people on the call, and like 17 of them have come in via the QR code, and they haven't gone to the links that I've still put up on the last slide, because I wasn't quite sure, I'm testing my opt-ins where they're going to come in from. It's all via WhatsApp. It's so,
That's something you can do, if you're speaking, if you're doing talks on stage and stuff like that, where you're not really supposed to have a big 10-minute pitch session at the end, just get that QR code up and
exactly. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah,
so
super easy.
Kind of bring things back to Instagram as well, just for a moment, because I'm curious, is it just comments on posts that can be used as triggers within Instagram? Can it be triggered by replies to stories? How far can we go with that?
There are, I think, I'm going to try and quote all 11. There are 11 ways that you can trigger it off, and if I can remember all. So posts and reels is 2. There is from stories as well. You can send a direct DM. It's not necessarily a trigger, but you can set up 2 different menu options within Instagram. One menu option is only seen by people who have never messaged you before. So instead of getting that little white profile pic the white screen and the profile pic, you can fill that with like 4 conversation starters. There's a main menu that is seen by or accessed by people who have DM'd you before, so they can go into a flow to ask a question, etc. I've lost count of how many that was. The reveal sticker, we have to type a word in the picture. That also can start an automation. The story mention reply is another one. So if someone tags you in their story, I have mine set up that it's very simple. All it says is thanks for the mention. So depending if you are someone who is on stage a lot and you get tagged a lot, and maybe your DMs are full of people, mentioning their stories, and you just don't have time to go through it, you can set that up so they just get a thank you, which helps to,
I like that.
Yeah, which helps to build the loyalty. It doesn't stop you going in at a later date and replying via you, the human. It doesn't stop that at all. It can be attached into Facebook ads as well. And obviously, I would always recommend that you put your main keyword for your main best proven offer into your bio as well.
Okay.
I don't know if that was 11. I might have missed one out.
I think that might have even been more than 11. I think there were a couple of little extra ones thrown in there. I love that. So obviously we kind of mentioned there about when having that automation to thank people for mentions, that you can go in there and still be the human later. And I think that's kind of a good thing to touch on, that I'm sure people will be wondering about, especially as AI becomes more and more prevalent, and there's so much around what is human and what is automated or robot generated. How do you balance between using automation like this without losing the personal human feel that's so important, particularly in relationship driven businesses like memberships? How do you keep it human?
I think for relationship driven businesses, I had this conversation the other day actually, and I think it's really, and so for me, I automate my main lead magnets and my webinar signups. I don't automate anything else, because it's important to me that if people do send me a DM that is just a question or whatever, that they get me. That's how I build my business. I like the human contact with my followers or anyone who's coming into my DMs. So what I would always suggest for businesses and brands is what can you automate versus what do you need to stay as human to human conversations. And it's important to remember as well that Manychat is permission-based marketing. So you cannot send an automation to anyone who becomes a new follower. You can't do it. It's against Meta's terms and conditions. As someone becoming a new follower is a little hand raiser going, oh, I'm interested in your content.
Or someone just clicking like or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's as far as that goes. The only way you can start to send people automations is if they opt in. So the power is very much with the consumer. Once they have opted in, I would always recommend, especially for relationship businesses, that you kind of get them through the process of conversion relatively quickly. You can build out automations that get them through that conversion rate, and then there's a follow-up, and then there's a sales message. How much of that is relevant would be, totally up to people's individual, business objectives. I tend to get them through, get the conversion, then they're on my email list. I may then go back in another day and send them a human DM going, human Mel here. I hope you enjoyed the guide. How was it? Let me know if you have any questions. That's what's important to me. And once they have opted in, you then have 24 hours in which to send them any more automations. It's called the 24-hour rule. But what you then send them after their initial opt-in is, I would always advise, has to be strategic, has to be relevant to what they've already been talking to you about originally. If nothing is relevant, don't carry on that conversation unless it's, unless something actually really does fit. And then once that 24-hour window is closed, you can't send them any more automations. So unless they opt in again to something else. So within Instagram, so that 24-hour period is vital. So that's why I recommend you keep it quite quick and you get that conversion, and then you build your email list. There are ways of contacting people outside of the 24-hour rule, which is relevant to WhatsApp and relevant to Facebook, but not on Instagram. Meta gave us the functionality for about 6 months. So if you have an older Instagram account with Manychat, you may well have the functionality. It's called DM lists. But then they took it away again because that's what Meta does.
That's what they do.
So, for example, if I was running a webinar, I could get them to opt in for my DM list on Instagram because I have an older account and I have that functionality. And then I can send webinar reminder messages because they've opted in for my webinar registration list, to remind them to turn up. But a lot of accounts won't have access to that functionality, but it does exist on Facebook side and it does exist on WhatsApp as well, to be able to contact people outside of that 24 hours. So yeah, Meta compliance is really important. I mean,
yes.
You know that, right?
Yes.
You don't play, you don't get on the wrong side of Meta. So yeah, compliance is huge, but it is permission-based marketing. So, but automation versus human, very much up to the brand. But I truly believe that, people, if they want your stuff, you've got to give it to them quickly.
Yeah.
Keep that automation short. Doesn't stop you, getting in contact with them as a human at any time after that at all.
Yeah, and I think, like you said before, not necessarily, not hiding at all that this is my bot. And actually directly addressing that like head on instead of setting it up to pretend to be speaking as you.
Yeah.
Hey, this is my handy little Instabot.
Yeah.
Like, people don't expect to know when they opt in for an email list that you are personally typing out the response and putting the attachment in. Like, people are not offended by automated replies and automations for stuff like that. I think they are then more offended if you pretend.
Yes, I think so too. I would be annoyed. I don't mind an automation that said, this is an automation, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and then you're going to get this. Is that okay? And you go, yes. And then it does exactly what it says on the tin. That's where the high conversion rates come from, because it's super quick. They're on platform, they're already there, they're already in your DMs. Convert them there and then that conversion rate is a lot higher. I think for one of my clients, the very first flow that I built out for her, we had a 90% completion rate.
Wow.
So of people who made it into the DMs, 90% of them took that intended action. And I think there's a pinned post on my Instagram profile of my main lead magnet, and that is running at about 85% completion rate as well. So it's the conversion rates can be super high. It's not to be ignored.
Other than pretending to be human. What are any kind of common mistakes or automation fails that you see when people first start testing out using Manychat and Instagram, where they're just kind of dabbling with setting it all up on their own? What are some of the big boo-boos that people are making?
So there is the main thing I see is people still using it as kind of like a different version of a landing page. So there'll be either huge chunks of text and you know how small our mobile phone screens are. So if you're putting in a huge lump of text of like 6 sales messages of what you're going to get, that is just flying up the screen, and it makes it really difficult for the consumer to actually read as well. And it's important when you build these automations that it is it's back and forth conversational, and you can add you can use like little smart delays within the conversation that gives people the time to actually read what you've written. So there's a natural conversational cadence to it as well. So I always recommend keeping those message notes quite short, 3 or 4 lines, and then either getting them to input some information or click like, yes, that's great with me, or no, let's do this, so that conversation is back and forth. You're keeping them engaged. If you put in huge chunks of text, they're like, oh my god, I can't be bothered with that, and you've lost them straight away. So that would definitely be one. And the other thing I would always recommend is, as in a human to human conversation, you say hello. You go, hi, welcome. It's, you don't normally in human conversation, just don't just start blurting your sales messages at people. You always say hello. And by the same respect, always say goodbye as well. So people know that the conversation has ended. So, and especially when it's an automation, they can be sitting there going, well, is anything else coming? Is anything, what is it ended? Wherever you just end it and go, that's all I need. Great job. Look out for the email winging its way. Bye-bye. Then people go, all right, we're done. And that's it. Yeah. And they know they're free to go and get on with their day, and they're not still there going, oh, is there another message? I don't know. Who knows?
It's just keeping things simple and remembering that it's conversational.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
No, I like that. So for someone who has listened to this and they're kind of thinking, you know what, I'm going to give it a try, I'm going to get started, what would you say is the simple first campaign or workflow they should be setting up that's going to help them to see how effective this could be for them? Is it just that simple lead magnet delivery like we talked about?
I think so, yes. And how you deliver that really, obviously, would depend on what you want to get started. So Manychat does have a free account. You can sign up for that. You can get, and that on the free account, you are limited in functionality, as always, on a free bit of software. But with the free account, you can use a really simple automation that brings them in from post a reel, a story, a direct DM, that brings them into the DMs, in which case, and you then do send them a link. So if you do have your proven offers are set up on landing pages already, just to see if you've got that engagement enough to bring them into the DMs and then send them a link, that would be kind of like beginner level 101 that I would certainly try. Beyond that, I would always advocate for Manychat Pro, because that is where a lot of the magic happens. And that's where you get the data collection node. So that means you can gather data for the name of the email, the telephone number, whatever it is you need to do. You do need Manychat Pro for that. And then if you are going to upgrade to Manychat Pro, then certainly do look at gathering that information within the DMs. If it is something that you can opt in for and link it to your email provider, then give it a go, build one out and give it a go and try it and just see what you get. And hopefully you'll be surprised.
Love all this. And yeah, I'm basically here with a little list of homework for myself now to start playing around with this.
Bless you, Mike.
Yeah, it's for whether it's webinar signups, looking at utilizing WhatsApp for member engagement once people are actually enrolled. I love the idea of the kind of things that you could do with it. Now, for anyone else who's in the same boat as me, who's just been scribbling down notes and kind of thinking, okay, this is absolutely something I want to start implementing. If they want to know more about how to get the best from Manychat, whether it's for Instagram or for all the other different platforms, and they want more of your advice, where's the best place to connect with you and to find all your good stuff?
So if you do go to my Instagram profile, which is at socially_sound, you can comment on the pinned post. That will bring you in, and you can see a chat flow in action there as well. That will bring you into my email list. I do have a kind of a free Manychat starter kit as well, which I can give you the link for. If people know that they already want to get going, I have a link that can get them some help with Manychat Pro for 30 days for free, so they can go in. And I also have a kind of a launch kit as well, which is like a low ticket, gives you some templates, it gives you some video. It's like a mini course. Ideal for kind of personal brands to just get started with that without the overwhelm of trying to learn a new platform without knowing what you're doing. So, yes.
Perfect. So make sure you head on over to that Instagram account and get all that good stuff. And we will put links in the show notes to today's episode. Mel, thank you so much. This has got me really excited about using Manychat.
Oh, pleasure, Mike.
Yeah, like I said, we tinkered around with it ages ago and it really couldn't do a whole lot. And it was really, really restrictive. But it just sounds like there's so many possibilities, not just for that lead generation, but for so many other elements of the user flow, the member flow. So I'm really excited about digging in. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. And again, if you want more from Mel, check out the links in the show notes for today's episode. Mel, once again, thanks for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
All right, thank you once again to Mel for coming on the show. Wasn't that really just endless ideas? I'm sure your brain is buzzing with ideas right now. I love that Manychat doesn't just help you grow your audience, help you grow your email list, but can actually support the entire member journey, from email lead through to loyal, retained member, your onboarding, your engagement, and all that good stuff. So huge thanks to Mel for sharing so many actionable tips today. As always, you'll find links and resources at membershipgeeks.com for the show notes for today's episode. And again, if you're enjoying the podcast, if you like today's show, I'd love it if you can leave a quick rating or review. It genuinely helps us to reach more membership site owners just like you and to share all the fantastic advice that we bring through this podcast. Thanks as ever for listening, and I'll catch you next time on the Membership Geeks podcast. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Membership Geeks podcast, we invite you to check out membershipacademy.com. Membership Academy is the original membership about memberships, and it's the essential resource for anyone at any stage of starting, growing, and running a successful online membership business. Whether you're still trying to figure out what your idea is going to be and you need some help making it a reality, or whether your website is already up and running and you're looking for ways to grow and attract new members, then Membership Academy can help you to get to the next level. Not only do you get access to our step-by-step membership roadmap, our extensive training library, and exclusive member-only discount and tools, you'll also become part of our supportive, active community of membership owners that will help you along the way in your journey with feedback, encouragement, and advice. All of this and more make Membership Academy the #1 place to be for anyone looking to start, manage, and grow a successful membership business. Check it out and join the community at membershipacademy.com.